Hello everybody, I'm Passeroy, and I'm going to be going through a 100% unrestricted run of Stray. And so this is a pretty cool category compared to any percent unrestricted because you get to see more of the game while also seeing all the cool glitches and some extra ones that you don't get to see in any percent unrestricted. So it uses all of the same glitches that are used in any percent unrestricted except for certain cutscene skips. And then it also adds some extra ones that you don't get to see at all if you just watch any percent. So, here we go. We're starting out. We are a cat, as you would expect for Stray. And once this cutscene pan finishes, we're going to race around and say hi to our friends. We get to play with each kitty before any main action happens, although there is a big cutscene skip coming up here after we're done playing with all the kitties. But what makes this 100% is that we have to collect all 6 badges and all 27 memories, as well as getting to the end of the game. So it's a pretty cool route. It does some fun sequence breaks and things using the glitches. And so, right after this cat here, this is when we're going to do our first glitch, called Nap Skip. If you've played this game, normally you're supposed to lay down with the other cats and sleep with them, just on the cardboard here, which is a very cat-like activity. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the trigger to show up, and when it shows up, I'm going to run against the wall and then press for the trigger to happen. And because you're up against the wall and there's a cat between you and the spot, you get stuck and the cat just keeps circling. And then, for some reason, since you don't go to sleep, this makes it skip the cutscene altogether. There's supposed to be a big cutscene where all the cats are going down the pipes together. Instead, we skip that completely, and we're just up here all alone. You're not supposed to be up here at all after that first opening part, but we're still up here. And so now, using another glitch to get out of bounds right here, you can fall into this weird out of bounds area, and then you got to do some precise movement here to get back in bounds. You can't just run anywhere along here. You have to get in at a certain place, or there's a few different places actually. So that's one of them. And this is where you're supposed to start the game after that cutscene. You're supposed to be down there with your friends, but instead we just skipped that. One thing that you'll probably notice from the inputs that are popping up, I do have my meow button bound to the scroll wheel down. And the reason for that, for one thing, it means that you can meow really, really fast, really, really easily. But it's really useful later for the same button that you use for meow, you also use to shake off enemies. So it's really useful later for getting the enemies off you really quickly, much faster than you could mash the button. And another interesting part of the tech for this game is in the bindings. So you can bind things to scroll, as I just said, but if you have a mouse that has free scroll, sometimes called hyper scroll or infinite scroll or unlocked scroll wheel, any of the types of mice where your mouse wheel just keeps scrolling, that actually also gives you an advantage. And so using that, you can get certain tricks easier, especially certain cutscene skips that actually won't be done in this category. Those are the types of cutscene skips that you only see in any percent unrestricted. But it's still very useful to have things bound to scroll for this category as well. So I actually use different binds for this category than I use for any percent unrestricted. Since we don't have to do those cutscene skips, I have meow and interact on the scroll wheel. And then for any percent unrestricted, I actually use interact and the help button that's used for the cutscene skips.
I didn't know. I guess it makes sense. I never thought about cartridge.
But here we are at the sad cutscene. This is the one that hurts you every time. Look away.
That's right. It's a special treat, special celebration.
This one's rough. This one's rough to see, and we can't skip it yet.
I look away because I'm talking to all of you guys.
But here we are. This is the whole reason for the plot of Stray, because now we're separated from our friends and we have to get back.
Most of this game does not rip your heart out, but the beginning and the end definitely do it.
Also, this cat has magic saliva. All you have to do is lick yourself a few times, apparently, if you're a cat, and then all of your everything is fixed. Don't worry about it. Kitty's fine.
I need to practice the inside the wall split, but what I need to do is get the trainer set up so that I can not have to watch the opening cutscene every time. It's just that's a lot of work, and that's why I haven't done it so far, but you can see it in how bad my first split is. Like I said, for some reason when I played this last night and did my first run of 100%, I just got it right away. And I currently know that I won't reproduce that very quickly. Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people say they finished it in 5 hours. I think I took like 8 hours to finish it because I'm slow, I guess. 5 to 7 is probably average. You could probably take more than I did too, but...
You can see Goggles, my cat, in the background there. He is sleeping.
There was somebody
He
who
is
said
much better at
casually
sleep
in
than
7 hours.
anything that he would not be an athletic cat in this game. He would not do very well. He does not like running. Anyways, so we're out of that slow cutscene kind of area, and now we get to explore the city for the first time, and we're in this kind of abandoned area.
I did spend some time trying to get out of bounds because I like to...
And so you'll see the enemies, they're called Zerks. You get to see them for the first time, the little scuttling pink things.
I enjoyed it.
And we're gonna get a little bit closer look at them in a few minutes with the cutscene.
It is very pretty. It's also prettier on
the
better
chase
graphics settings,
cutscene.
I definitely do not have it on the highest ones because...
But in the meantime, we get to be a cat, and as a cat, you can do cat things, like pick things up with your mouth. That one's kind of self-explanatory. But there's some more interesting cat-like things you can do. This game is fun because you are a cat the whole time. Like, you don't do uncat-like things. So here you get to knock things over, except it's actually useful.
And I have it turned to medium instead of high.
My cats love to just knock stuff off, and it's never actually useful in real life, but here in the game it is. And so this is a little glitch that you can get where, oh, I actually got underneath the bed there. But you can glitch off the side there, get knocked down with the paint bucket instead of having to jump through it. And now we're to that chase cutscene that I mentioned. So, well, first actually we have to talk to this robot here. Except actually, so if you played the game casually, you probably did talk, like you pressed the button to interact with this robot. You don't have to. You can walk away. And so you walk away and then get up here, and this is where you really meet the Zerks for the first time. And they are scary things. You do learn some more about what makes, like, what made them, why they exist as you go through the game. And especially in 100% as you actually, you know, learn more about things as you collect the memories and badges, you learn a lot about the story. Unfortunately, even though this is 100%, I'm going to skip through all the text super fast so you won't be able to read any of it. Which I guess is good for spoilers, but it's bad if you wanted to really learn what was going on. We 100% the game, but you won't really learn much that you would normally learn if you did it yourself. But anyways, here we are in the Zerk chase. In this case, we are just trying to run through this while not getting killed by the Zerks. This is where, like I said, having the meow button on scroll wheel is really important because when you have it on scroll wheel, you can just shake them off instantly. Normally you have to mash the button, but you can just get them off pretty much as soon as they get on. And then your goal is just to survive here.
Yeah, continuously meow at the Zerks.
And that's the end of the chase.
We don't need you. We don't need Zerks.
And so now we have some platforming, and this game doesn't have free platforming, like you can't just jump on anything, which I guess keeps you from being able to break the game totally, as you probably could if you could jump anywhere you want. You can only jump when there's a prompt, but don't worry, there's still ways to break the game, even though you can only jump where there's a prompt.
On that, because I always try to avoid slipping.
And so we're making our way, this area is called Dead City, if you didn't see that at the beginning. And it is definitely dead, definitely abandoned. But there are parts of the city that are more alive, and we're gonna get there.
Should I have done more practice before starting a run? Probably. Will I ever learn to actually do that? Probably not.
And so for the part like this, there's a lot of different routes that you can take to get to the same place. It's all about optimizing that route so that you take the least amount of jumps and also spend the least amount of time walking on narrow surfaces, because the cat won't jump, or the cat won't run when on these really narrow surfaces sometimes. And so now, being a cat, we break things. Gotta pull the battery out of this fan so we can walk through it. And now we're in the flat. And this is where we meet our friend for the first time.
0.1 seconds. I'm surprised I thought.
And then because we're a cat, we step on the keyboard.
What is that symbol?
Just walk on it. You can walk back and forth, but it's easier for the speedrun to just stand on it, so you can move after that last one and then wait for this door to open.
So this cat is fast.
And now we go back to breaking things. We gotta pull some batteries out of stuff. So here's one up here. And actually, I guess we will do an uncat-like activity. We are going to put things back where they belong. And I don't think that's a thing cats usually do, but this one does. So we're going to take the batteries out and we're going to put them in another place where they go to power some things up.
Although it starts to look bizarre when, like, you're bashing the cat.
And then in this cutscene, actually, so this door is going to open. You can move during this cutscene, which is really useful because you can go and get up on top of these things before you can even see them. And this is where we find our friend. So this is B12. And you will get to see the cutscene with B12, it's just that I'm going to skip all of the text.
That goggles emote is so good. I will say, so I'm used to speedrunning 102 Dalmatians where there's like no downtime. I really do appreciate having actual downtime in the speedrun. At the same time, it's more interesting than Mother 1 because I feel like in Mother 1 I'm just like pressing a few buttons and hoping I do it exactly right every time. I guess what I'm saying is that I've definitely learned that as much as I hate movement, I always say I hate movement, but I like movement-based speedruns. Movement is just the vein of my existence.
Alright, coming up here is one of my favorite parts in the whole game. So after you grab these keys, and B12 talks to you again, B12's gonna put a harness on the cat, and the cat's reaction is exactly what my cat does when I put a harness on him. Goggles in the background there. When you put a harness on him, he flops. He is on the ground and he thinks that he is dying.
In this run,
and all you did was put a harness on him.
And I definitely have not yet.
And now we have to put a code in. Luckily the code is always the same, so we don't have to go discover it every time. And now we get to leave. And so up here you're going to see the first memory. And actually in any percent you can skip every single memory. Any percent is also effectively low percent because you get none of the memories and none of the badges. Due to some skips that we do. But in 100% we don't skip them, and so this is the first memory. And so the way that memories work, they're B12's memories. So B12 is our robot friend. We just picked him up. He says that he used to help a scientist, but he's lost a lot of his memories. He was stuck in the network for a long time. And so when he sees certain things, it helps him to remember the things that he forgot. And so that was the first one. We saw a postcard that shows the outside world. A mural that's based on the postcard.
So for 100% you have to gather.
And so that's the kind of thing that we're going to collect by going around. And so here we are in the slums. We've reached the slums.
Instead of 100% only.
And so the robots see us and they are scared. They're scared that we're here because they've never seen a cat before.
Like in Dalmatians, we have all puppies, but we don't have all bones because nobody wants to do that. So there's 100%, which is bones and puppies, and then there's all puppies.
And so, in this cutscene, actually, you saw the robot in front, the Guardian. He just closed the door, even though not everybody's in and the door didn't close. And you're going to see the door close without him touching it now, because he already closed it. And that's a glitch that you can get. There's a way to make it happen consistently, but also sometimes it just happens. And when it happens, you can meow and he will smile during the cutscene just like that. So that's a fun glitch that's completely useless, but really funny. He's supposed to be like terrified of you because you're this unknown creature and maybe you're gonna like murder everybody, but instead he's smiling because you meowed.
I don't know why.
Anyways, we're gonna talk to him. He's gonna say, hey, you're not a Zerk. You're not gonna hurt us. And then the lockdown goes away. And so that's what this whole thing is about. They have a system where they all go into hiding if any Zerks appear, because the Zerks destroy things that are living or really just anything that moves.
I know, their faces are so good.
And so right now, nobody really has a way to get rid of a Zerk.
Face is so good too.
And that's the problem.
I know. I really like the robots. Like, I really feel for some of them. I don't know how they managed to make the robots.
So now we're going to talk to the Guardian one more time. We're going to show him the postcard. He's going to tell us to go find Momo. Momo's at the top of that building. But we're not going to find Momo. We're not going to do any of that, actually. We're just going to leave. We're going to forcibly leave this world. This part of the world, I should say.
I was trying to,
And so that, the glitch is called sleep paralysis, and I have to go in this building to accomplish it.
It feels like they have soul.
But first there's a memory to grab. Just for, you know, routing purposes, it's easier to grab this memory here while we're in Elliot's room. And then jump up here. And this is sleep paralysis. And the way that it works, you have to get a very specific angle while you're jumping onto the bed. And so to accomplish this, you have to get to the right subpixel. Not the right pixel, the right subpixel. And so the cat just moved in just the right way so that I know I'm on the right subpixel. And now, using that right subpixel, I can line up my camera in the right spot and then jump onto the bed and then do this really weird movement. And it's called sleep paralysis for a lot of different reasons. There's a bed there. Everybody was losing sleep trying to figure it out because everybody knew that there was something weird about that bed, but it took a long time for the community to come together and figure out how to get something to work with it. It was awesome. It was a really awesome community effort to see happen. And so now you can see like all the collision is really weird. We were just walking through things. Now we're in the out of bounds area. And so we're going to use sleep paralysis to skip straight to the sewers. And so that's what's loading underneath. It kind of loads and deloads. And so the goal is to be over the top of it when the cat falls down. Just like that. And so now we are in the sewer section. So we're just going to run until we get to that checkpoint for sewers. And then we can quit. We don't have to do anything of slums because now the game thinks we're in sewers. The game thinks that we've unlocked all the levels up to that point. So what we can do then is head to the next level after slums and just gather all of the memories and stuff that we need.
I got sleep paralysis first try.
Actually, in this case, we're going to do the entire thing. We're going to do all of rooftops. Because the last memory is right at the end. But what this allows us to do is that we skipped most of Slums 1. And we are going to go back to Slums, which is why we can skip most of Slums 1. Because we can just go back to Slums during the second time and get all the stuff that we were supposed to do the first. Or that we could have done the first time, but didn't.
But getting it instead of dying.
Anyways, we are now in rooftops. The story at this point is that we're trying to turn on the radio tower. We have to go, there's like a distant tower that we're heading towards, and we have to turn it on because we need to...
I added a sub-split for something because there was a split in a place I didn't want to split. Unless that's been like removed or something, in which case.
We need to help Momo get in communication with the other robots that have left the slums, basically. Took me a while to remember. It's been so long since I actually played the story. That's what playing the unrestricted category does. I didn't even remember what we were doing. I just knew we had to do it. Yeah, so what you're supposed to do in Slums 1, you're supposed to go find Momo. Momo tells you about the Outsiders, who are this group that were trying to reach the outside. And each of them has a different notebook that you can collect. So you're supposed to collect all 4 Outsider notebooks, and then you bring them back to Momo. And Momo is inspired by this, and he sends you out to on this journey because he wants to try to get in contact with them again. But the thing is broken, and so he can't go and do it himself because the Zurks will kill him. But we're small enough that we can sneak past the Zurks, and so we're gonna go turn it on. And this is this really creepy area that the Zurks have taken over. And this is the first time that you see the Nico Corporation, N-E-C-O, like, it's gotta be a play on Neko and Eco. But really it's their fault that the world is dead. And here's a memory. I did grab another one before that I didn't mention. There's 2 main memories in this chapter, and then, or there's 2 small memories, I should say. 2 side memories, and then we'll get another memory at the top. Because when you see the memory screen pop up, the orange memories at the top are main memories, and then all the blue memories at the bottom are the side memories. And so we're going to keep heading upwards, and this actually, we're gonna see another glitch that you don't get to see in any percent. This is the es-cat-lator.
Now's your time. You just have to wait for
the cat escalator.
And then it turns out that the cat doesn't need the elevator at all, but we have to wait for it to come down anyway.
And so, first we have to wait for the elevator to come down. You're supposed to get in the elevator and take it up. We're not gonna do that at all. But while you're sitting on the side here and the Zurks are attacking you, you do get this really funny cat wiggle animation when the Zurks jump on you. Because the cat's supposed to wiggle and shake them off, but you're sitting, so the cat can't shake, and so you just kind of like wobble back and forth. It's really great. But now we're going to jump on top of the elevator, and instead of getting into it, we're just going to walk into the side, and then you can walk up, as you do. And now we're on top, and now we can turn this on.
I feel like that's something they should have caught, but...
And now there's this cutscene that shows the transceiver being turned on.
Patched in the more recent version. I am not playing on the most recent version because they patched out the sleep paralysis glitch.
And something interesting actually is, so sleep paralysis, the devs of this game were trying to keep things friendly for speedrunners. They were not, you know, actively trying to patch things out. And in fact, for the early glitches that we found that we were using, they made sure that they didn't patch them out. The problem is that they were working on a patch at the same time that sleep paralysis was being worked on. And so by the time the patch came out, we already had the setup for sleep paralysis. We were already using it in runs. But it was like right before the patch came out. So they didn't even know about it when they were developing it. They didn't have it in mind at all when they were trying to preserve glitches. So the third patch for the game just completely patched out sleep paralysis. And I mean, it's huge. It skips multiple chapters. You go straight from Slums 1 to Sewers, which in any percent, that's when you skip Rooftops and Slums 2 and pretty much the entirety of Slums 1. And for 100% unrestricted, you also skip a lot, although you still have to enter these chapters. You don't have to do them all, especially in the case of Slums 1 and 2. So, like, this is huge. Or, sorry, I missed Dead End. Dead End 2. You get to skip Dead End as well. So that's like 4 chapters that you get to skip. It's enormous. So, luckily, they worked with us, and they got us a patch, a branch on Steam, a beta branch, and so we're able to still play on patch 2 on Steam. Unfortunately, on console, it is still permanently patched. I don't believe that there has been any change in that. Really, because the problem with the bed is that there was a problem with the bed. When I was playing casually, I actually got stuck inside the bed that we use for sleep paralysis. So they knew that there was a problem there already, and so they were just trying to fix it. And to try to undo that fix while leaving sleep paralysis is probably just way too challenging for it to be reasonable for them. Because the fact that it's broken is what makes the trick work.
I'm intrigued by the fact that that saves.
So anyways, now we're in slums 2. Now we will be collecting some energy drinks and other things. And this is really where you see a lot more of slums than anything, because there's so many memories. There's so many other secrets and stuff. And we have to collect 8 pieces of sheet music to get a badge. So the reason that I'm collecting energy drinks is because they are currency in this game. And the reason that I'm collecting sheet music is because you get a badge for giving Moresk, the guitarist, all of his sheet music.
Oh, maybe because...
And so,
so the whole
normally you
split-
do
the
slums
last
over
split was
2
cool, but
separate
they had a
times. You do
sub-split
slums 1 and then you do
and
slums
that
2.
split, it's just-
So it makes sense that there's a lot here. But because we skipped all of slums 1 and now we're just doing it all in slums 2, it means that there's a lot for us to do. So I'm going to grab a piece of sheet music here. One in Elliot's house that we couldn't grab earlier. You cannot transfer sheet music from one chapter to the other. It'll just reset. Memories that you get stay. If you get a memory, you have that memory. But if you get collectibles in the chapter, like sheet music or
there is a manual split already.
there's flowers in one of them, or these energy drinks, those don't transfer. You have to recollect them if you leave and then enter the chapter again.
There might be a way to not have it be a manual split. I just haven't fine-tuned it
So
yet.
here's some hidden sheet music here.
The auto
We
splitter
grabbed
is
one
not
off the
100%,
table
it's
before.
definitely made with
Now we can head
100%
over,
That's probably
grab a
not
memory.
up there. Would definitely not fast you to do all those jumps.
I will say I don't think they could have done what they did with this game if it were humans instead of robots, because this is just like a dead body right here. This is a dead robot.
Alright, 3 more memories left.
And the robot was sentient, and it's dead.
So technically, if you could do the... So there's the out of bounds...
And actually in
background
that
you can do with
first
the
room that I
rotation
entered to
button
grab sheet
to
music,
get into the bar. I guess
here's
technically it would save
so here's a little bit of the story. You're supposed to go and talk to Momo, and he's supposed to try to contact his friends, and it'll work.
Maybe I
But we're
should
not gonna do that. We're not gonna do any of the plot. We're just gonna collect things and leave. Anyways, in the first room that I went in, the one with the library, where I grabbed a piece of sheet music off the piano, there's a robot that's dead under a bunch of collapsed books. And in this game, there's spots where you can sleep. You can, like, sleep on a spot and it'll zoom out peacefully. Like, you can take screenshots there and stuff. And it's just, you know, it's a cat thing. But you can take a nap in the bookshelf there while there's just a dead robot below you.
New code is 128.
I don't know, it seems kind of grim to me. Anyways, here is a safe. We're going to already know the code. We don't have to solve it, luckily, and there's a piece of sheet music in there.
Now we grab the energy drink.
And this is Moresk.
Talk to our friend here.
Now I'm going to give him some sheet music.
Could you not?
And so this is the only piece of sheet music you will hear in this run.
That's like nothing.
So listen to it well,
Just
because all the others I'm going to use checkpoint reloads in order to not hear them at all.
we never asked.
So enjoy it while you can. Unfortunately, you probably can't hear it at all just because of how the volume is, but, you know, in a run for a marathon, you'd be able to hear it at least a little bit. Now we're going to head over here to the shop. There's this basketball. There's an achievement for getting the basketball in. Ooh, I got it in. There's an achievement for getting the basketball in, so I'd usually just run and get it anyways. And then... Oh, not read the sign. Here's a memory that you can get here by buying from the shopkeeper.
That's true. We do always joke that our cat Jolene travels between dimensions, because sometimes you just can't.
And so now we go back to
and then you go
Morusk,
to the place where you just
and
looked, and
we
there's
give him the
something
rest of the
else.
sheet music. And so this is where it's just reloading the
So now we
checkpoint
give him
over
all
and
the
over
music
again,
sheets,
because
and
once
so
you give him a
can
piece of
you,
sheet
skip
music,
it every time?
it does make a checkpoint. You
And
can
you
tell
also
it's
have the muscle
saving
memory
because there's the
icons,
little
but
cat
I'm
head
trying to be
in
fast.
the bottom left of the screen. So every time you give him a piece of sheet music, it does save. And then because it just saved, you can reload the checkpoint and it will already have given him the sheet music. And so there's 8 of these so that we can get the music badge. And that's what we're going to be doing for a little bit.
Luckily, it gives you a checkpoint after each time you load, or after each time you give a music sheet, you get a checkpoint, so you can just keep reloading. And this is the loadless time, so. One thing I haven't looked into, this route doesn't. The route that I'm doing does not cheat the amount of energy drinks that you get. I think there's a way to do it, but I don't know if there was a specific reason that it wasn't included in this route. I need to look at that.
This would certainly be a great time for donations or really just anything. Incentives, donations, shoutouts. We can do it all here.
I'm getting better at this at least.
Alright, we've finished that, and so now
Alright, we did Slums Part 2.
we can go to the next chapter. We don't have to finish Slums 1, or sorry, Slums 2. Just like we didn't finish Slums 1, we're not going to finish Slums 2.
So if I remember correctly,
So this is
one
called
was
Dead
split,
End.
but Dead
To
End
give a
didn't
little
get
bit of
split, so we
context,
could manually
in Slums
split
2, we were supposed to have talked to Momo. He contacts his friend
I just can't see it
outside
in this harness for some
of the
reason.
slums, and then you know, he wants to go and meet his friend, and then Seamus comes up, and Seamus says, you know, you'll never get outside. My dad went outside and he disappeared. And so the plot of Slums 2 is you help Seamus to track his dad. His dad's named Doc. It is a reference to Back to the Future because Seamus looks like Marty and Doc looks like Doc. And so you help Seamus to discover that his dad is alive out there somewhere, maybe trapped somewhere. And so then you go yourself because, again, the robots would just be destroyed by the Zurks, but you're fast enough that you can outrun them most of the time. So we're going to go and save Doc. And that's why we're in Dead End. Dead End. At the end of the Dead End is where Doc is. He's trapped. And we did get a badge there. So at this point, we have 2 badges. We have the music badge and we have the Outsider's badge that Seamus just gave us so that Doc will recognize that Seamus sent him.
Except now I'm back to being
Or Seamus sent the cat. Seamus sent, yeah, the cat.
Doing this part fast makes me feel cool. And we did stop doing it in the current 90% route, so at least they get to
Speaking of the cat is never given a name. I'm of the opinion that everybody should name their own cat.
I say the current 90%.
So my cat's name is Sheila. I named my cat Sheila from the beginning, but you can name your own cat if you play this game. I think everybody should name their cat. One of my friends named their cat Wilkinson. You know, it's really up to you what you feel this cat's name is. So my cat is a she, and her name is Sheila. And again, we are a cat, we are magic, and so even after we get injured, just a few licks and we're all better. Gotta grab this memory that's hidden over here.
You know, the magic licks. In this game, all the cat needs to do is lick. I think I need to get my cat to lick, like, all of my arthritis away. Do you think my cat can lick my arthritis
And now we
away?
hit the lag. It's okay, it'll be fine. It's a lot of lag.
Jolene, wanna try?
This part does not like my computer. But here we are. This is where Doc is. You can see the power line leads to him. And he's got some Zurks in a cage. He was studying them. Doc was out here trying to come up with a way to defeat the Zurks. And he did, actually. He did defeat the Zurks. But then he blew a fuse in the power source. And he got trapped here because he can no longer power his weapon to defeat the Zurks. And that's what this is. This is his fancy Zurk defeating machine. And it's actually just a really big light.
My cat loves to lick my chin.
But we'll ignore that part. It's a fancy Zurk machine. Zurk defeating machine.
At least I remembered before I got to
And first we gotta grab this memory over here. Because of the way I turn the camera sometimes, just for speed, you don't actually get to see what's happening with the memory. That's why it looks weird like that. There is stuff happening if I left the camera turning the right way. But anyways, we just gotta jump out here and get the checkpoint, and then once we have the checkpoint, we can quit.
Bye, Doc. I'm gonna leave you in your house.
So we don't have to do the rest of the story with Doc. What we were supposed to do, we turned on the power. Doc was able to repower his weapon. It's called the defluxer. And then now that you have the defluxer, it shoots purple light at the Zurks, and it makes them explode. And so now that we have the defluxer, we can help Doc get back to Seamus. Then now that Doc has reunited with Seamus and we have this weapon, now we can brave the sewers. And so now we're helping Momo get to the next point. Momo, like I said earlier, Momo wants to get out. He was part of a group called the Outsiders that included Doc and included 2 other members. Balthazar, who we're going to see next, and then Clementine, who we see last. And so Balthazar and Clementine both were able to get out. Doc was stuck in Dead End, and Momo was stuck in the slums. So now that Momo has the chance to leave, now that we have the defluxer, now that we have the cat to lead us, I guess. I don't know, maybe Momo was waiting for a guide. Anyways, we're going through the sewers to the next place is called Ant Village. I don't actually know why it's called Ant Village, but it is. It's kind of like the middle point between the slums and the big town that is Midtown.
Makes it infinitely easier to do certain tricks.
But this is basically an auto-scroller. I cannot speed up the raft, we just have to wait for it to go. And so the first obstacle comes here. We're gonna jump through these bars and then go and flip the switch to open them so that the raft can get through.
I guess I don't know if I'll use the macro or a real mouse, but right now I've been using my dad's really old mouse that has free scroll, because when people were talking about that, I was like, oh, you know what? I have used one of those before. Because my dad, I absolutely hated it.
You can, so I do have the defluxer. I can kill the Zurks with the defluxer.
What are you talking about?
I don't usually use the defluxer at all in this run. It shows up as a purple light that comes from B12, the robot guy. I don't use it just because you can just run from them and shake them off as long as you have Meow bound. If you have to Meow bound to the scroll wheel rather. If you have to bind something else to the scroll wheel and it's not Meow, that's where you have problems, and that's where it becomes really useful to use the defluxer.
But now that I have noticed it, I notice it every time.
Anyways, now we're back, sitting on the raft, waiting for Momo to bring us to our destination.
So it's not super loud, it's just barely hearable.
You can see the cat's tail moving with the raft. The game has some momentum physics, I guess, and so because the cat is stationary, because the cat is moving, rather, even though the cat's actually stationary, the tail moves. Which, I mean, it makes some sense, but it just shows up in bizarre ways when you're like sitting on the raft or when you're like on the subway. Because there's a subway later where the cat's tail is just horizontal. Momo does have this awesome jacket robe thing, though. It's flamingo patterned, and if you look around the world of Stray more, you'll find the flamingo pattern in a lot of other places, like on curtains and on pillows and stuff like that. And I think there's an identical jacket to Momo in one of the shops in Midtown. He's just got the cool clothes. So now Momo has to open this manually because the door got jammed, and so because he has to open it manually, he can't come with us. He lets us through and tells us to let everybody else know, let Baltazar know that he tried, basically.
There's one to the left here.
And so now we are going to grab a couple of memories here. There's just 2 memories in the sewers that we're gonna get.
And the next one isn't for a bit.
And so this is where we learn some more about the Zerks.
I have to remember to not... I love having the on scroll again.
And this is where the route gets much more similar to Any Percent again, because, like I said, in Any Percent you skip Slums 1, Slums 2, Dead End, and go... Or sorry, Slums 1, Rooftops, Slums 2, and Dead End, and get to Sewers. And in 100% you do the same with Slums 1, but then you do get to see Rooftops. And you only get to see the first half of Dead End and Sewers. Or sorry, Dead End and Slums 2. But you do get to see more of the game. But now there's no more like major chapter skips. We're not going to be skipping any more chapters, whether it's 100% or any percent at this point. Maybe in the future, but not right now. So we're going to play through... In any category, we're going to play the last part of the game, just... Maybe not quite as intended, but you're going to see all the chapters at least. And this is a really creepy part where you see a bunch of eyes.
This is a terrifying part.
Yep.
But we don't have to see it.
Except I'm going to turn the camera around just so we can run away really quick. And so this is a part where there's a glitch called Water Run, where you can jump on a barrel in a certain way, barrel over to the left side based on where I'm facing now. If you jump on it in a certain way, you get teleported off of it in a way that gets your probe stuck. So in the game there is a probe that follows the cat and checks whether it's on the ground or not. And so if you get that probe stuck in the wrong place, you can end up running on things you're not supposed to. So it's called Water Run because you can run under the water. But unfortunately, the Water Run has about a 50% success rate. With newer setups, it has like a 60 or 70% success rate.
Factory badge.
So it's not necessarily the thing that you want to be going for 40 minutes into your run. And so if you do Water Run, you can skip this really creepy cutscene. I did not do Water Run. Although I probably would give it a try in a marathon setting, I have to say. I would give it a try for the marathon. But in this case, we get to see the sad cat getting hurt by the Zerks cutscene, and then B12 burns himself out. And so we have to run and save him and escape the Zerks. And now that purple light that you saw was the defluxer. We no longer have it. We had it for one chapter from dead end, from halfway through dead end to halfway through the sewers, and now we don't have it anymore.
How I can meow while holding B12 in my mouth. Because usually when you're holding something you can't meow. But it apparently ignores that here.
And there we go, we've escaped the Zerks. Sometimes you can get a weird thing where they come and run up after you and get like under the door, but that's kind of rare. It's just funny when it does happen. And now we've rescued B12. B12 is not in fact dead. And so we're gonna wake him up. He's gonna be very grateful that we did. That we saved him. And we gotta turn the fan off so that we can get to Ant Village.
I don't know why I didn't move towards that while I was waiting for B12 to wake up. Usually I just do. My mind just decided now.
And so again, I don't know why it's called Ant Village, but it is a giant village built vertically. And you're about to see a really good view of it right here. So we're going to run up to it. And so you can see it's built among the trees, kind of as a tree. Seems like a really cool place to live, honestly. Giant treehouse. And so here we have B12 remembering things. I won't give away too much of the story. I won't be giving away what he's remembering and stuff like that. Just in case you want to play it. And I guess that is where any percent has, that advantage, because you're skipping these cutscenes. You don't, see any hint of what's being remembered or anything at all. But here's Balthazar.
I love the mini monitors thing. I don't know who thought of that.
And he gives us Clementine's picture, because if you remember, Clementine was the last outsider in the group. And so we need Clementine's picture to help us find her in Midtown. But before we leave Ant Village, we have some tasks to do. We have to collect some memories. And we have to collect flowers. There's a florist on top. Or maybe a gardener is the better word. And she needs some flowers to complete her collection of different colors of flowers. So we're going to grab 3 different colors of flowers. A yellow one, a purple one, and a red one.
And a leaf. That's okay. I also get distracted easily. I mostly lurk.
And these Mahjong players, if you jump on their board, they do get very upset. Actually, there's an achievement for that. There you go. You can see they were very startled. And I did jump on it earlier, but I didn't mention it before. And so, the person who needs the flowers is up top here. Oh.
Not quite what I wanted to.
Unfortunately, the cat doesn't always jump where you want it just because of the way that the jumps work. And now we get the flower badge. Or whatever it's officially called. I call it flower badge because you get flowers. And then you get the badge.
Your phone hates Twitch and yeets you out. Twitch mobile is something special.
And so now when we climb up these pipes, this is going to lead us to the subway under Midtown. Once the load happens.
Good.
And so here we are. We're going to have another memory at the top of this subway.
It didn't split. Oh, it did split for Ant Village. Okay, never mind.
You know, something I haven't talked about, actually. You might notice, since I have the input display on here, I am playing on keyboard and... Or I'm playing on controller and mouse. Not keyboard and mouse, but controller and mouse. And that's because the hybrid format has some advantages. Or at least for me, it has some advantages. Because I am much better with a controller than I am with a keyboard. I'm terrible if you give me a keyboard and mouse. But it's not the mouse part that I'm so bad at. It's, you know, the keyboard part. Too many buttons, too many different places. I'm very used to controllers. So I'd rather use controllers. But because of that scroll wheel tech that I was talking about earlier, where it is faster to scroll through text, or faster to scroll things and also faster to scroll through the text, because that's the other thing. Actually, I don't even know if I mentioned that, but the advanced text is bound to the scroll wheel so that I can just get through text super fast. And so because of that, it's definitely faster to have a scroll wheel. And so a controller and mouse is kind of the fancy in-between version of that to get the best of both worlds.
Okay.
And so that is a skip right there. We call it hat skip, also call it cat in the hat skip. I just kind of glitched through that door just enough. So what you have to do, I did it really fast, but the whole point is to turn the cat in a circle fast enough that you get pushed through that grate just a little bit. And if you get far enough, you can interact with the stick on the other side. You're only supposed to be able to reach it from the inside. But because we got just a little bit inside the grate, we were able to reach it from the outside and then open it up and get in early. You're not supposed to be able to get in at all until later in this chapter.
I mean, that's totally a speedrun strat, and I meant to knock over the paint.
But here we are in Midtown. We've reached Clementine's apartment. And so Clementine was our whole goal this whole time. Well, our goal since we saw as Baltazar, at least. And so, of course, at first she is very worried to see us. She's about to attack because she's wanted. For probably causing some type of trouble with the police. I don't actually remember what she's wanted for. The police here have very strict rules about what people are supposed to do, and especially, you know, trying to get out that's very against the rules. But first what you see here is I am being a cat and I am breaking things. These cameras are causing these guys some problems. The sentinels, the police drones, they don't want you doing that. They don't want you dancing, actually, so these guys want to dance, and they're not allowed to dance because the sentinels said no, I guess. And so we break the cameras for them so that they can dance without the sentinels getting mad.
And this is where the route gets a little weird.
And because we helped them, they give us this tape. We're going to use the tape to start this really loud boombox. It becomes apparent later why we did that, because first we're going to take a detour, because there's our badge hidden up here in this maze of windows and climbing objects. And it's the police badge, because there's a police person up here.
Don't worry about it. Oh, it is the police badge.
And so at this point, we have... Let me think how many badges we have. We have the music badge, the outsider's badge, the flower badge, the police badge, the cat badge, which is the shiny one I picked up. It does actually shine.
And stuff, but there's some robots, and so like the game does treat dead robots very casually. And it would be much more gruesome if these were people.
And so here we are. We had to get... You notice I grabbed a worker jacket and I grabbed a hat. We got it before we even talked to Blazer, because normally what you do is you talk to Blazer, and Blazer says, I need a disguise so that I can get into the factory. But because we already knew what Blazer wanted, I clipped into the hat shop early to steal a hat, and then I used the boombox to steal the vest while the shopkeeper was distracted by the loud noise. And so now, because we have both of them, we can talk to Blazer and then give him the stuff right away. And he has us climb into a box, you know, a very cat-like activity. Climb into a box so that he can smuggle us in to the factory. And the reason that we're going into the factory is because we need the factory's battery. We need it to power the subway so that we can get to the control room at the very end.
I might have. I think I did, at least once.
And so this is the factory. This is a very scary spot in the run because there's all of these sentinels that want to kill you. These, when they shoot at you, one shot will kill you. And so here is where we're going to get, well, in a second here, we're going to get our last badge. And at that point we have all 6 badges. There are ways to get through this without getting spotted by sentinels. Actually, there's an achievement for that too. But this is a speedrun, so we don't care. Unless they shoot us, in which case we're sad. And so here we are. We have the workers' keys. That's what we grabbed over there. We grabbed the workers' keys and now we give them to him. And he's very happy and gives us a badge. A Nico badge. And now we go back the way that we came, just a little bit. So that we can go and get the battery in the control room. The factory control room, not the... There's a spot called control room. That gets confusing. Anyways, when we go in this barrel, we can go through the lasers without them shocking us. And so we use that to our advantage here. And move these little robots around onto these pressure plates so that we can get the battery within reach. When all 3 of them are pressed down, that's when you can reach the battery. And so we gotta get this one out of the cage. And then for the last one, we're going to use the barrel. They don't have to be fully on it, they can just be like on the very corner of it and it thinks that it's touching, so that's all good.
Oh wow, I didn't hear anything else for it being on.
So there we go. Now that we stole the battery, the factory is on lockdown. I don't know, it's probably like emergency power or something because there's some things that are still powered, but a lot of things aren't, including these lasers that would keep you from getting out normally. So now we have the battery. Now we've escaped the factory. We're supposed to go bring it back to Clementine. So we're gonna head back to her apartment, not before making some stops though for the last memories here. And so we have to go into the police station. This one wasn't open before.
This is a memory,
not before we went into the factory, but now it is. We can grab a memory.
3 memories and no bad. Or now 3 memories and no badges. Oops.
And then one more in this like sandwich shop kind of place. And now we head back to Clementine. And so this looks a little different than it looked like last time because now there's a bunch of sentinels everywhere. Because they know that something's up. And they're on the lookout for anybody doing anything suspicious. Luckily they don't follow you to that far. They can follow you and sometimes they can follow you into really weird places and it can be a problem. But generally they don't follow you very far, especially if you get out of their view pretty fast.
Okay, there's always next run.
And so now we've gone back to Clementine's place, but she's not here. She left us a note that says, where to find the clues to where she went. So we have to find 4 different objects in her apartment, and using those objects, she left more notes on the different objects so that we know where she went if we put them all together. So this is number 2.
No.
The spot for this one can be weird. There it is. Number 3. And then this one is annoying to jump to because the game doesn't like to let you jump to it even though you're supposed to. And then this one is number 4. And so now B12 says, oh, we know where she is. She's at the club with Blazer. So we get to go to the club and find her and Blazer.
Oh no. Leave me alone, please.
So we haven't seen the club yet. We ran past the club, but we haven't seen it yet. Before we enter the club, though, there's one final Midtown memory to grab. This is the last one. This is also a cozy sleeping spot, but we're not going to sleep. There's an achievement for sleeping for an hour. There are some people who've done all achievement runs, but I don't know, maybe we should have a GDQ run that is sleep for an hour. Catnap %? Anyways, this is club.
Right. This is
I'm going to use a few different glitches here to make it so we can actually skip club. You're not really going to see the inside of club very much. It's a really cool place. It's a really cool environment with cool music and really nice design. But you're not going to see it. You're going to see the basement and that's it. But so what I did there is, you noticed I reloaded the checkpoint and it took us back to Clementine's house. But now I'm going to reload it again and it's going to do a wrong warp. It's going to take us back to club. And it has something to do with the way that the game stored my location and the map that I was in. So it recognized that I was in the map for club. Because the interesting thing about club is that once you're in club, Midtown unloads. It's no longer there. Now that I'm in club, Midtown is gone. All of it.
I guess I could stand in the
So it recognized that I'm in club. It probably wanted to unload all of Midtown. But first it put me there, and then when I reloaded it again, it put me back in club in a default location.
2 more memories, 1 option.
But the interesting thing here, so I went in the basement and I grabbed a memory. Because of the way we can use wrong warp, we can still use the glitch that is used in Any % that lets you skip the rest of club. So because of that, this guy's still in the window. He's not supposed to be in the window once you're in club. He closes the window after you get in. But because the window's open, we can jump out of it using the glitch that's used in Any %. It's a glitch where you're not supposed to be able to jump outside the window, but there is one single platform that you can reach, and if you do it just right, you can jump to it. And so like I said, once you're inside club, the rest of Midtown deloads, and instead jail is loaded there. The next chapter is jail, and that's jail. And because jail is loaded around us and under us, if you get out of bounds, you actually fall directly into jail. So here we are, we're inside jail now, which is the next chapter. You're supposed to get captured in the club and put in a cage in the jail. Well, we skipped the cage entirely. And because we skipped that part, we actually still have B12 with us. B12 is supposed to be taken away, but because we skipped the part where he is, we still have B12, which you're not supposed to have right now. And it actually gets kind of funny because you're supposed to rescue B12 later, except we already have B12.
Please don't shoot me.
And unfortunately, there's only so much that we can do with that because the game does not really recognize that we have B12. The game doesn't know what to do with B12. And so you can soft lock it if you try to use B12 in ways that you're not supposed to be able to, since you're not supposed to have B12. But anyways, we found Clementine because Clementine was also captured. We need to let her out by getting the keys. And so what I kind of skipped over before is that B12 is actually our translator. We can't talk to the robots without B12. So because we're not supposed to have B12 with us, the robots can't talk to us right now. Unless I initiate a conversation, which I will do in a second. I'm going to force a conversation with Clementine by talking to her. But it's just some dialogue that's supposed to happen later in jail because there's not supposed to be dialogue at all right now. And so this is a part where It can be glitchy. You can get stuck if Clementine gets bugged. You can get soft blocked. But there's some ways to make it more consistent and so that it's less likely for her to bug. I haven't had a problem by running to the exit. I haven't had a problem with Clementine bugging. The exit being over here. I say that now I'm gonna have a problem, but there's a number of runners who say like if you run to the exit you shouldn't have a problem. There are some cases though where you stop or where she stops like at the top of the stairs if you get too far out of sight and then just doesn't continue. And so we've been trying to figure out why that happens because there's also cases where she doesn't follow you, but then the things still happen as they're supposed to and you're still able to continue. And in that case, it would actually save time. So it's kind of an ongoing project for us to try to understand why she stops sometimes, why she stops but then the game continues sometimes, and how we can use that to our advantage. And so this is the part where we see B12 in the cage, except we already have B12, but we're going to ignore that. We have the fake B12. Or maybe that one's the fake B12. Doesn't matter, we still have to rescue it. And so now there's a whole bunch of sentinels that are going to want to kill us. But we're going to race through them and not get caught. And so there are cycles here. There's some ways to avoid being seen so that you know, hopefully aren't killed. Because again, the sentinels do one-shot you. Luckily, I mean, if you do get shot, you can try again from the beginning of this section. It's not too bad. Yeah.
I did that again.
So, if a sentinel sees you and then follows you in there, you can get killed during the cutscene, which is what happened there.
I hate that it can do that.
But like I was saying, luckily it's not too bad. You just start back at the beginning of the sentinel run. And then hopefully you can avoid the same things again.
How's your Wednesday going?
Sometimes it's bad luck, sometimes it's something you could have avoided. There are some weird, like, inconsistencies in the way that things spawn and the behaviors of certain things, so that, like, sometimes it really just can be bad luck. You don't usually see a certain behavior, and then suddenly it happens. But right there you saw I was actually moving during the cutscene, and so that's, you know, why the sentinels can also kill you, because you can move, and the sentinels can move, and so they can kill you, but also you can get way further than you're supposed to, so we didn't have to do any of that sneaking around the sentinels, because they can't see you during that cutscene.
I still disagree with that death.
Or at least the ones that weren't already trying to kill you can't see you during that cutscene.
I should have been prepared.
So we got B12. We brought him back to Clementine. And now we can get out of jail. And so now that we have B12 again, we can use B12 to open doors.
Goggles, it's not dinner time. What's up? Goggles is making the case for.
And so now we need Clementine to break this window up here and let us through.
What's up, buddy?
And so luckily, because we are a cat, we can squeeze through things and help open stuff that a big robot like Clementine cannot. And so she's going to open doors for us, we're going to open doors for her. It's a lot of teamwork. Unfortunately, she moves slowly, which is not great for speedrunning. But what we have to do right now is we have to trap the sentinels that are out here, because otherwise they're going to get her when they see her. So we want to get them to see us and then trap them in these rooms. So that was the first one. Now we have to get Clementine to walk and open the next door. And there's 2 doors, or gates rather. There's this one and then there's the next one, but before Clementine gets to the next one, I'm going to grab this memory. This is the only memory in jail, and it's the last blue memory, so the last side memory. And we're going to get both of these sentinels in at once. Just like that. Luckily there's 2 doors to this room. Uh-oh. No. That's not good. Alright, it's fine. Everything's fine. So now they're both trapped. We're free. We have not been shot.
Thank you.
And now Clementine is going to make her way to the next door. And here we are.
Alright, we need one
in
more
the last part of jail.
The fancy harness.
We just need to find a way to open that gate up. And so there is a car. What are we going to do? We're going to scratch it to let Clementine know about it.
Awkward. Thanks for the good luck.
And now we can use this for some nice platforming.
If it is Wednesday there.
So that we can get over to the lever that will let us out. Unfortunately, the lever is alarmed. And so they realize that maybe somebody's trying to escape the jail, which probably hasn't happened before.
Alright.
Because if you explore a little bit more, there are a lot of robots in various states of disrepair. Because they've clearly been abused while in jail and not let out. But right there, I actually just got on the cart a little bit early. You're supposed to chase the car down the tunnel and then eventually jump on it. But if you go fast enough, you can grab it before it even reaches the tunnel. And so we did that. Now Clementine is making her escape. But she wants to maximize the chance that somebody gets to the control room. And she knows that she is unlikely to make it. Especially if the sentinels try to follow them into the subway. So instead, she gives the keys to the cat, and she tells them to go. They need to make it to the control room. And so what the control room is, it is the control room for this whole city. Because the city is entirely walled. It is contained within walls and it has a ceiling. And so there was originally, when humans lived in the city, there was a control room where the humans would oversee what was going on, make sure that everything was functioning properly, all that stuff. And it also has controls for the doors and things. But because, as you've noticed, there are no humans, nobody's even in the control room. Nobody's controlling anything. And so we are going to journey to the control room to try to find a door, to try to find a way to open the door so that we can get out. And in the process, so that we can help everybody else get out, because we're not going to be the only ones to get out if we open the doors.
Alright, now we've got his control room.
And so we've activated, we've powered the subway, we've used the key to turn it on. Now it's going to take us to the control room.
I probably didn't really save any time on jail because of the death.
And so it's a bit of a ride to the control room. You can watch the cat's tail again, like I said, anytime you're moving. Like, anytime the cat's moving but you're not, like, physically walking, it's really funny to watch the cat's tail.
Oh yeah, it's well said. Hey, not nothing.
And then when we get to the control room, compared to everything else we've seen, compared to the rest of the city, the The control room is pristine. The control room is untouched.
Why is the camera so weird here? Oh, maybe because the cat is like constantly moving in the train? That's probably what it is.
And so, the reason for that, as you're about to see... Oh, first, that's some zoomies right there. If you rub up against these railings, you can get an extra speed boost, and we call it zoomies because it's a cat. And now we're going to do a trick called catrousel, because we're going to use this spinning robot thing to work like a carousel and spin us through the door. But the reason that this whole space is so clean is because the robots up here, they are not sentient. They did not gain consciousness like the robots everywhere else did. They're still in their original programming, which says to keep the control room clean, to keep it spotless, and to wait for the humans to show up. But the humans aren't showing up.
I guess I have to do the other thing now.
Because the humans are gone. When you get more into the story, you find out that there was some type of plague.
Thanks.
And so the people in the control room didn't think it would ever affect them.
Alright, last memory. We get this shiny.
They just let it happen because they were safe in their control room. But eventually it did. And at that point it was too late. So we just got our last memory, and when you get the last memory, you get a little gift from B12, because he's so grateful that he has his memories restored. And it is a shiny harness. So now we are Shiny Cat. Unfortunately, we don't have the harness for that much longer because the game is almost over, but we're Shiny Cat for a little bit. And so the first thing we have to do is turn all the consoles on.
Instead of me being bad.
It's really annoying actually, because if you hit one of the ones that's already on, then it turns off. And it's just a pain. But there are some better ways to do it. There we go.
The good news is that if I messed up catrousel in 80%, I would be really mad, but at least like this is only my second time.
And now that the consoles are on, B12 can activate some things, except everything's locked down. And so we have to open the system up. So how are we going to open the system up? The only way that cats know how. We are going to break stuff. We're going to destroy some wires completely and hope that they are the right wires. And then it doesn't just turn everything off. So we destroy the wires and then B12 hacks the system, basically. Except it does take quite a toll on him. And during this cutscene, you can actually move, so I am moving towards the next spot, just like that. This is across the room from where we were last. And again, we're a cat, we're gonna scratch stuff. Break some wires. My cat's actually very good at breaking wires. Goggles, who you saw in the background earlier, he loves wires. He loves chewing them, which is not so great for the wires. Alright, we have one more lock to go. And B12's gonna hack this last last computer. And this one's really gonna take a toll on him. And I do recommend, if you want to keep the ending a secret, or if you really just don't want it to be really sad, you can look away. You can turn it down or turn it off completely, because this is it. This is the final cutscene. And so B12 knows that he can open the roof. He can expose the city to light and open the doors for the first time in hundreds of years. But he also knows that the circuits on this little robot can't take it. And so he sacrifices himself for everybody in the city so that the cat can get out, so that the robots can get out. He opens up the city so that everybody is saved. But he doesn't make it. And I don't know, I've heard some people say, you know, maybe there will be a sequel, maybe B12 is actually okay. I mean, it is true, you could probably repair a robot, right? So I don't know, maybe that'll be next, maybe. Or maybe not. We can all just believe it in our hearts. But here's the cutscene for opening the city.
'Cause I know somebody
And
said
so
at one
the
point,
Zerks were
like, if you're out of
allowed,
bounds
were
to the
able
final area, you can just
to
start the
flourish
cutscene,
because there was no light. The way that the
which means we need to wait
the
for it.
Fluxer worked is it actually used ultraviolet light
So
on
we can
them,
skip all
and
the
so
bad
once
parts.
the city is opened and the sun comes in, it destroys all the Zerks. And for the first time in their lives, all these robots are experiencing the sun. So you saw Momo, now you see the Guardian and all the people that were around him. There's Morusk, the musician. Here's Clementine. She was about to be captured by the Sentinels, but just in time, the sunlight deactivated them. And you can see the sky. And so I'm going to do something so I can get up a little bit earlier here. You start pressing buttons, you can start standing during the fade-in. And now we're going to run to the exit. So the time will stop when the cat when the cat reaches the outside and the cutscene starts, which won't be right when I get outside. First we have to walk up the steps and stuff. But here you see one of the robots that did not gain consciousness. Still doing its job as a greeter, I guess. And this one specifically walled City 99, which makes you wonder where the other walled cities are.
Will this save time?
But anyways, I'm still walking.
If it
This
does
is
save
not the
time, it means
cutscene.
my control room was really bad on my first
So I have to
run.
reach the top of these stairs here.
Okay.
Sorry, that's guinea pigs.
It just means that the control room was really bad on
When I reach the top of these stairs now, that's time.
There we go.
And that's it. That's Stray. And so now you get this peaceful cutscene. The cat is out in the outside world.
At the end.
Unfortunately, you don't get to see your friends here, but I have not seen it myself, but I've heard from others that the cat models for your friends are underneath the world. So at some point you were probably meant to reunite with them, but that was scrapped. And here we are. And so you walk away peacefully into the distance, and that's the end of Stray. We've saved everybody.
Pretty late.
So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I would really love to show it off at a marathon. Obviously it's a new game, so there, there's the popularity of it because it's a new game, but I think it really does have some awesome glitches, some things that the community has really worked hard together as a whole group to come up with. And so I'd be really honored to be able to show these glitches and everything to other people, all the routing and the hard work that has gone into it. So thank you so much.